Good evening, I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss with the weather impact update for you. We are tracking the tropics. It is definitely already the peak of hurricane season, and we are looking at a brand new storm as of today. Here is the latest so far. This is going to be updating very, very soon. We are awaiting the arrival of the 9 p.m. update and the 9 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center of what our latest impact and our latest forecast for Tropical Storm Fernand is. As of 5 p.m., the winds were around 40 miles an hour. So not a super strong storm, but its intensity is going to be increasing very, very soon. It's moving around 15 miles an hour north right now. It's around 405 miles southeast of Bermuda. Bermuda is probably the only place that's going to be seeing some real impacts from this storm. Here's what you need to know so far. It is the 6th named storm of the season for the Atlantic Ocean so far. We're starting to see things really kick up here. We just saw Hurricane Erin really get very strong. It reached that Category 5 strength. Then we saw it weaken and then regain strength again with an eye wall replacement. The difference between Tropical Storm Fernand and Hurricane Erin is that rapid intensification. We're not expecting to see Tropical Storm Fernand intensify that greatly by any means. Now, it will get very close to Category 1 strength, but we're not going to be seeing it at Category 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's going to be very close to that tropical storm strength as it pushes northward. Similarities, they both are going to be staying away from the United States, which is great news for anyone that's traveling. However, we could be seeing some increased storm surge, just like what we saw last time with Hurricane Erin. Not as intense, but maybe a little bit of peaks of intensity here and there. No U.S. impacts are expected, and it could slightly intensify. So let's take a look at it. This is the latest information so far. You can see it is around 400 miles southeast of Bermuda. And it's going to really continue on that same track. In fact, let's take a look at it. What happens as we put this into motion? By the time we get into Monday, around 2 a.m., winds could be near 65 miles an hour. And that will probably be the strongest that we will see that storm really get. And that's just slightly below hurricane strength. And as we continue to push it, maybe by Monday at 2 p.m., maybe 70 miles an hour, but still not expecting to see it get that Category 1 strength. And you can see by those icons that by Wednesday afternoon, it's going to be a low pressure system. And it's not really coming into contact with the U.S. or with Canada as well, which is great news. However, like we were saying, like Halifax could definitely be seeing some increased storm surge, and really rapid, really with those tides increased. You want to make sure that if you're traveling into Canada, which most people are not this time of the year, most schools are back in session from the south. We're not going to be expecting anything like that. The storm is also moving much faster than Hurricane Erin did. We talked about Hurricane Erin for almost a week and a half. We saw it from it being just a tropical wave, then it was an invest, and then we saw it reach that Category 5 strength very, very quickly, and then it just kind of took its time as it pushed northward. This storm is moving a little bit faster, but staying weaker because it's in cooler water. So that's another reason why we're not anticipating that rapid intensification to really happen. But I would love to say that that's the only storm that we're having our eye on. Like I said, this is peak hurricane season. So as you go throughout the rest of this week, we're gonna have to keep our eye on what could develop. As of right now, what you're seeing, this is what it looks like on radar for that tropical storm. And it's definitely not as strong of a storm as if you remember Hurricane Erin. You could see that eye really forming. This is just a tropical storm, but it's definitely something that we're gonna keep our eye on. As we zoom out just a little bit, what else are we watching? There's a 40% chance of development in the next 2 days, as well as the next 7 days, for something else to develop in the Atlantic Ocean. And that's something that we're watching. This is really an update from the 6:30 hour. Earlier this evening, we were looking at more of a 20% chance of development, but the National Hurricane, because it is hurricane season, they have their planes out. They're keeping a watch on these storms, and they said, okay, this looks like it could be picking up just a little bit and could be turning into something that we have to continue to watch. Right now, it's just a wave, but you can kind of see a little bit of organization. It's something we'll have to keep our eye on. 40% chance of the next 2 to 7 days. I always tell people, especially with tropical storms, hurricanes, it is a very quick and fast evolving storm. That's why they have those hurricane hunters that are on top of these forecasts, staying with us to keep us updated with the latest information to bring you all. When we talk about a 40% chance of storms developing in the next 2 to 7 days, that changes so quickly. We saw it intensify between around 6 p.m. and around 9 p.m. now, and that could be changing very soon. So we don't want you to say, oh my goodness, panic. Don't panic at all, because that could be changing whether it's good or bad. So we'll have to continue to watch these storms. So that's something that we do. We try to keep all of our meteorologists on staff at all times, but some people go home, and we continue to watch these storms even when we're off, because it's very interesting to us. It's very interesting to see how these storms form. It could look very kind of organized with what we're seeing right here with this developmental chance, and then sometimes we see that fall apart within hours. So that's why we said don't really get too scared by that 40% chance, but also keep up to date with the forecast, because just as quickly as it could change for the good and kind of dissipate, it could also change for the bad and intensify as well. But as of right now, that is what we're looking at. I have great news with that tropical storm Fernand, that we're not expecting it to see the U.S. at all. We could be seeing it maybe turn into a category 1 storm, but it's in much cooler water. So that's going to keep that intensity down just a little bit, and it will be staying completely away from the United States as it continues to advance northward until it becomes a low pressure storm well off the coast of Canada. So we'll keep watching that storm. We'll keep watching the potential to see what else could develop really in the Atlantic Ocean and in the tropics and in the Gulf as well, to see what could be happening. Waters are very warm in that area, as well as the closer it gets to the United States, the waters are a little bit warmer. So it's something that we have to keep our eye on. But for now, Tropical Storm Fernand is going to be staying away from the United States, and it's not going to be seeing any impacts at all. And it's going to be staying way under that category 2 and 3 strength that what we saw with Hurricane Erin. For now, meteorologist Danielle Moss, and I'll return you to some radar loops so you can stay up to date. If you're watching us on Facebook, or if you're watching us on YouTube Live, don't forget to download our 11 Alive Plus app. You can watch us all the time. You have a 24/7 weather stream. It's really cool for you to see our radar loops 24/7. You can see what's happening here in Atlanta. We also have great weather stories that we put together throughout the week for you all. So we hope that you enjoy that. Remember, 11 Alive Plus. For now, meteorologist Danielle Moss.